Yes. And it should happen before the year's out, maybe by August. And if you notice, the rating agencies have been instrumental in giving negative ratings to European countries, such as Greece and Portugal. And the reason for that is that the longer this crisis goes, the higher the dollar stays. And so that's part of the reason that this is going on. This is all man-made.
But then, of course, as long as the dollar stays up, then our exports don't do as good. In other words, it shuts down our manufacturing because we can't sell our products on the international markets. When the dollar is high, that means that our products are going to be much more expensive, whereas the products, the European products, are going to be much cheaper because, of course, the value of their currency is falling. The value of the euro is way down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's around 126, and who knows where it's going to go. But this is all managed. This is all being done deliberately. This, of course, will allow Europe to compete and leave us stranded. We'll have a terrible balance of payments deficit, and we don't have hardly any industry left. America's going to pay a horrible price.
Well, I think
the only way that people can protect themselves from all of this is to own gold and silver coins and shares. There is no other answer.
Well, there's an article in Time magazine here just this last week about, how really gold is much overrated, and the central banks are selling off their gold, and the IMF is selling off its gold, and China is selling off its gold because it doesn't have any confidence in it. And I'm reading this and I'm saying, China isn't selling off their gold. Well, China's buying gold. I mean, they're trying to get something solid behind their currency so that when the dollar collapses, their currency will be supreme in the world. And you wonder where Time magazines get their information, and obviously not reading the International Forecaster.
They're deliberately lying, as they've done for years and years. All the media, except for the programs that are talk radio like yours, Dan, and the Internet, they own it all. It's as simple as that. And they don't know what to do about the gains we're making. I mean, in the last 3 weeks, I've been interviewed by Athens International, the largest newspaper in Greece, and today I was interviewed by the largest television company. Why? Because they're getting these broadcasts all over the world, and they can't stop them, and they've got to be going crazy. In fact, they had me on the front page of the newspaper last week, and now they even wanted a picture to put on television of me.
Well, I'm glad you're getting the word out, Bob, and I think you're doing a great job. The American people must understand that there is an organized plan. The organized plan is to destroy America, to shift our manufacturing overseas, our jobs overseas, and our wealth overseas. It's all part of the Earth Charter Plan, Point 10A, or Principle 10A, of equitable distribution of wealth within nations and between nations. And, of course, the plan is to destroy the United States. That's why, of course, we're actually encouraging illegal immigration, and, of course, why we're certainly lowered our tariffs so that the other goods can flow in here, whereas the other countries are allowed to put up all sorts of barriers to our products. The average American can't believe this can be going on, but that's exactly what's going on. Somebody's got to tell them. We hope that you'll learn and teach others. Well, this is Dr. Stan. Our guest is Bob Chapman. Our telephone number, if you'd like to talk to Bob, 1-888-24-LIBERTY. 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295. And Bob is simply pointing out that the people in Germany are furious. They're being asked to bail out Greece and Portugal and Ireland and Italy and Spain. And why should they have to put up their good money and their life savings and damage their German currency to bail out these other countries that have acted irresponsibly? And so Bob is anticipating there are going to be riots, certainly all throughout Europe, certainly in Germany. And then, of course, they have riots in Greece because the people don't want to lower their living standards, have to live within their means. I mean, after all, everybody's entitled to, certainly work, half time or 2/3 time. You certainly want long vacations, want to be able to retire when you're very young and maybe go out and get another job. But unfortunately, this sort of an economic system doesn't work because it's all based upon a fraudulent monetary system and debt. And then, of course, there can be real problems with Portugal and certainly Ireland and Italy and Spain because, of course, you can't have one interest rate for all of these countries. Each one is different. Spain has a 20% unemployment rate, and they're asking them to make dramatic cuts in their spending. When you got a 20% unemployment rate, you ought to be expanding your spending, not contracting it. And you have 20%, which is like 30% unemployment. And then what happens to the society? Well, what do you think is going to happen in Europe, Bob?
We're going to have revolutions in every country.
Well,
and, the rate of unemployment for those 18 to 35 years old, many of them with university degrees, is around 35 to 40% in Spain. So that doesn't really cut the true picture. The true picture is much worse than it looks. And the people who are under 35 years old are the people who start revolutions. And so that's where we're coming from in every one of those countries. There's 19 of them.
But
never mind the countries where the participants don't want to pay, like Germany. And, France is no cup of tea either. And Holland's better, but, the whole thing has just blown up. And it wasn't set to blow up because they wanted to use that as a basis for the New World Government and and it didn't work. And in the final analysis, June pulled the plug on it. It'll be interesting to see what they have to say at the Bilderberger meeting. Jim Tucker's there. And he's already sending out information that I guess he's got in good with a lot of the employees who were reporting to him already.
All right, fine. Well, we'll look forward to having Jim Tucker on as soon as he gets back. But let's go right now to Dave, who's calling us from Texas. Hi, Dave. How are you doing?
Evening, Dr. Chance. Good to talk to you again.
Hey, do you have a question for our guest?
Yes, I have a question for Bob. I was going to ask Bob about the new EU bailout package they just announced overnight. Bob's already aware, I believe, that through the U.S. support of the IMF, the U.S. is on the hook for IMF bailout in the past for a certain X percent. I think he knows the exact figure even better than I do, but I know it's a certain amount. And get this, the $140 billion package to bail out Greece by itself has at least several $1 billion of what turns out to be U.S. money tied into it. But this was never asked to the American taxpayers, and as a single line item has never been voted on by the U.S. Congress.
But you see, the Congress,
out of the foreign aid budget.
But the Congress is just going ahead and creating that, and certainly when Congressman Ron Paul asked Ben Bernanke, where's the money coming from you're going to send to Greece? Ben Bernanke started talking about getting repaid, and Congressman Paul kept saying, but where's the money come from? Are you just going to print it? And he couldn't get a straight answer because, of course, that's what they're doing. They simply, as long as they have ink cartridges and paper, they just print money, and they do to our currency what they did in the Weimar Republic. Any thoughts on that, Bob?
You've said it all.
Well, my
That's
question
exactly
is
the way it's going to be.
The EU bailout's even bigger. It's almost the equivalent of $1 trillion U.S. dollars, like 750 or something euros, and it's like the equivalent of $1 billion U.S. dollars. How much more U.S. money is going to be on the hook as a percentage? Because the ratio is the same.
19%.
Back up. Never mind the Greek bailout.
19% or whatever the IMF has to.
That's over $100 billion. Where's that money
There you go.
That's it. I mean, they just, as long as they have the printing presses, they can just keep printing the money, and if they have to, they'll throw it out of the helicopters. Anything else, Dave?
That was primarily it, but they're charging that debt interest back to future generations of Americans, and they haven't even had a congressional vote to authorize it.
I know. That's what Dave, we have an invisible government. They're running things behind the scenes. They don't care what we think. Oh, but, of course, when the whole economy collapses, maybe they will. God bless. Thanks for calling. Let's go to Bob, who's calling from Ohio. Get our number, 1-888 888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295.